The UK is arresting doctors as the country continues to descend into full-blown fascism in order to protect their favorite genocidal colony, Israel. Dr. Rahmeh Aldawan has been harassed by the UK government for months now and even stripped of her medical license for criticizing the genocidal state of Israel and the UK's complicity in their crimes, which is true. The UK has been complicit with Israel genocide every step of the way, and now they are criminalizing anyone who calls them out for it. Why does the Zoran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders left, who always calls out the enemies of the United States empire, like Cuba, Venezuela, and Russia, never call out the UK for their fascism? The UK arrests over 30 people per day for their social media posts, by far the most in the world. Meanwhile, they want to fearmonger over how authoritarian Russia and China is. And this massive crackdown on free speech is all designed to protect and shield themselves from accountability for their crimes. It truly is corruption of the highest order. And now, Donald Trump and the Zionist-controlled ruling class is importing that same fascism here in the United States. The rise of Jewish supremacy and the fascism that follows is the biggest threat to the West, not Russia or China.
My friends, my family, welcome back. Nigga Prime Time. You guys know I'm always in the lab cooking with these hotspot videos. It was great to share my viral Luigi Maggioni one. Like every once in a while, I have one that like breaks the algorithm. Like it did really well on Instagram. On X, my hotspot videos always do pretty well. So big shout out to Jimmy for helping me break down the Luigi Maggioni case. So you guys know I'm always in live cooking. We got a lot to discuss. We have South American geopolitical analyst Ollie Vargas, who will be joining us to break down the United States assault on Venezuela. And there's a lot of fuckery going on in Honduras as well. So we're going to cover that. But, man, I finally got to say something about this list because I'm very upset. He said, holy fuck, bro, is actually live. Man, I've been live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the last few weeks. I just started going live on the channel again about a month and a half ago. But I got to step my game up. I feel like I let you guys down. Like, I'm furious when I look at this quote-unquote anti-Semite of the year. Your boy keep getting shafted, man. I remember the ADL. The ADL released one of their many articles attacking me as an anti-Semite. This was like 2 years ago. And then I immediately gained like 1,000 followers after that. And then they were like, oh, yeah, we can't ever mention him ever again. Like, come on, bro. I hate Israel more than every single person on this list. I'm surprised Candace didn't make the cut. It was fine. I'm glad we got some new viewers. We slowly defeating the algorithm on the channel. We're doing pretty well. I'm glad to see you in the community. We have Ollie Vargas who will be joining us here midway through the hour. We're gonna cover some intense geopolitics. I'm just upset because, yeah, I need to step up. How is it possible? How is it possible that I don't even get an honorable mention? Corporate media is smart. They know better. They know better than to give us any sort of publicity. Mediaite fucked up. I don't know if you guys remember. Mediaite ranked RBN as the most. They made this graph that show how far left and how far right different media outlets was. They had a lot of different shows on there, and they had us as the most far left radical news network. And that was great PR for us. So I think like the establishment learned, like if you attack Black Marxists, people who are principled in politics, all you do is really help them. They love promoting like the anti-Kasparians of the world, the people like Cenk Uygur. Like, bro, there are people on this list who literally condemned Hamas, bro. Come on. No, I will say number 3. Yeah, I like Guy Christensen. This guy, number 3. I exclude him Guy Cruse stand on everything I say. Guy is legit. He was calling out Zohran Mamdani for selling out in New York. You want to know how this list is complete bullshit? This list is complete bullshit because there's not a single black Marxist on here. We was the original people that was smeared as anti-Semitic. You guys remember how the establishment treated Malcolm X? That's why they told little white kids that Malcolm X, he was the bad one. MLK, he was the good one, guys. Malcolm X, he was a little bit too radical. That's the American style history that we are taught. And the ADL knew this. Zionist organizations know the threat that black anti-imperialists have to the Zionist regime because we had this long-standing solidarity with the Palestinians. African Americans can sympathize to colonialism and imperial violence. It's a very simple formula. The people who are sympathetic to colonialism, the people who have ancestry that benefited from imperialism, they tend to be the people who favor Israel. Meanwhile, when you look at black Americans, and that's why it's so wild to see the Charlie Kirk style white suburbanite finally get it, because we've been on the front lines. Like, we was the original anti-Semites. And now they're making lists where there's not a single black person on them. I am offended. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to live out a little bit. I'm going to use identity politics to make my point. Like, how dare you not have one black anti-Semite on your list? I'm just trying to follow in the footsteps of my revolutionary leaders, my friends.
Are you anti-Semitic?
Anti-Semitic.
You many of the things that I've read about you, and you've made it mention a couple of times about the Jews and everything, and I'm wondering if you are personally anti-Semitic.
No. How can I be anti-Semitic when the Arabs are half the Muslim world is Semitic? If I was anti-Semitic, I'd be anti-Arab and anti-everything else. No, I think that in this country, there's one mistake that the Jews make. They put themselves in a position where whenever anybody gives an objective analysis of the role that they play, they defend themselves by accusing you of being anti-Semitic. And a Negro is not anti-Semitic when he says that the man who's exploiting him in his community is white, because it is a white man who owns all the stores. Now, is it an accident that these whites who own these stores are Jewish? If it's an accident, then the fact that he says the Jew on the corner is exploiting me isn't an anti-Semitic statement. It's just more descriptive of the man who's exploiting him.
Malcolm X just cooked this boy. There's a reason why they don't show white Americans Malcolm X, man. There's a reason why they're burning books, deleting videos of him. They already sanitized and whitewashed the shit out of MLK. But you guys see how my politics, and I've been unapologetic. Remember, we're the Fred Hampton leftists. I've been unapologetic from day one that my politics is inspired from my black revolutionary leaders. And I've been harshly critical of the black community who chose neoliberalism, which hollowed out and destroyed the black community over our black radical tradition. The first Substack article I wrote before I was a streamer, it went pretty viral. It launched my career as a citizen journalist when I wrote an article about how the black boomers, the black Gen X, the generation that embraced liberalism and reject the teachings of the Black Panthers, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, and many others. That's why we started Fred Hampton Leftists, to bring back that black radical tradition. So that's why I'm talking about Jewish supremacy. And then I had all these white shit libs, the DSA, Hakeem Jeffries left like, Nick, you can't bring up Jewish supremacy. Don't you know you're an anti-Semite if you do that? Once again, I'm just following the tradition of Malcolm X and our black radical brothers who wasn't afraid to call out this nonsense. He was the original person smeared as an anti-Semite. And the black Marxists today have been, like, when you look at my sister Mark Kimberly, like Black Agenda Report, Glenn Ford, like, we've been on the front lines. I've been covering this way before October 7th. There's been a long-standing history and solidarity between African American, black radicals, and Palestinians. So this was a great clip. This is why I'm pissed. Like, how dare you make a list? Let's see if I can find it. Look, how dare you make a list with no black radicals? What kind of shit is that? What kind of shit is that? That's how you know it's some political nonsense. And for one, why are you even making popularity contests of your haters? All they're doing is doing PR for these people. It is a popularity contest because I guess they are way more popular than me. I guess that's one way to look at it. I just got to step my game up. You guys, you know, I just want to be acknowledged for calling out the Jewish supremacy for years, even before October 7th. Like, I showed tweets from me from like 2018, way before. I'm like, bro, Joe Biden gonna take office and he's gonna help Israel commit genocides. Anyway, I as much as I want to complain, I also do take responsibility. I just got to step my game up. That's all. I've been calling out the anti-Semitism host for a while. There were a lot of people who was getting uncomfortable when I was like, this whole anti-Semitism is nonsense. It's not real. And the people are like, don't you know that there's actually real people that hate Jews? I was like, no, the psyop that they're running right now, where they try to convince us that there's a wave of leftists and people who are protesting against the Israeli state that hate the Jews. Fam, the United States left bends over backwards and does everything possible to remind you every step of the way that Jewish feelings is the most important thing to protect. Like, have you guys ever been around an anti-Palestine rally? I mean, an anti-Israel rally, pro-Palestine rally? Like, people who are criticizing, they like, we got to make sure we're not talking about all the Jews, man. We're talking about there's a lot of Jews who are suppressed by Israel, and that's true. But the idea that there was like this anti-Semitism problem on the left was always absurd, and it drove me crazy that anyone would legitimize that. This is the person they call an anti-Semite and a Kasparian. And this was prevalent in the left my entire time covering this issue. It's been maddening. But this is just May 31st of this year. Years into a genocide, after you make so much money pretend to care about the Palestinian people, you only care about the Palestinian people when they're victims, but you hate them when they fight back. So one of the anti-Semites of the year are people who condemn Hamas and the Kasparian. I loathe Hamas. They're pieces of shit who kill innocent people. Fuck them. So you guys see why they elevate these people as their resistance? These are the people who are in a thorn in our side, the people who condemn the Palestinian resistance. And that you guys realize you're speaking out against international law, spreading Zionist talking points. Like, we know that the Israeli government killed more Israeli lives than Hamas did on October 7th. They probably still repeat the mass rape nonsense, those lies. But I have love for the Palestinian people. I love the Palestinian people when they're dying. I love the Palestinian people when they're victims. But when they fight back, whenever the resistance get a victory, we're gonna yell war crimes. So these are the people they like to prop up, the people who like to condemn Hamas and condemn Palestinian resistance. I'm gonna get to my next story because we have Ollie Vargas that joined us. Either way, I think this list is highly political. Obviously, they pretty much just complaining about Tucker Carlson propping up their preferred left. Like Zoya said earlier, like, you see Anna Kasparian, you see her on CNN all the time. The Majority Report people, what the fuck is that? Sam Cedar and Emma Vigeland, they're on CNN all the time. That's the preferred left. The people who cry when Palestinians die, but they will condemn anyone who fights back. That's the preferred opposition. That's why they won't even name me as an anti-Semite anymore. Because I'm the one who made the legal, moral, and intellectual justification for Palestinian resistance. because we all know that it is enshrined in international law. Now, they would never talk about international law, how Hamas is legitimized. They would never talk about how Israel took thousands of Palestinians hostages. So the only reason Hamas did so they could use it as a negotiation. They're useful idiots for the Zionist regime, fam. That's why they allow them on corporate media. It's not an accident. All right, let's get to our next story. I'll cover this a little bit on the RBN Roundtable, but I didn't have enough time to really, we didn't have enough time to fully appreciate it. I just want to show my brother and sister, Sabby, James, and Rome, this funny story, but I don't know if you guys seen it. But MAGA stood no chance against the Somali shit posters. And you guys know that the corporate media, they can't touch this story because this story is a deep dive into the insanity of the Israeli project. And this is just perfect satire. I love my Somali brothers and sisters. It starts from here because Donald Trump, who is historically unpopular, who is losing a massive amount of his base, is doing what unpopular politicians in the United States always do. Whenever you fail to accomplish your economic promises, whenever your popularity begins to slip, you engage in the culture war. You stoke racial hate. So this is what Donald Trump is doing.
Somalians ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying that we could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage.
It's disgusting. But what do you expect? What do you expect from the depraved capitalist class who protect pedophiles, protect rapists, but they want you to be afraid of your neighbor? And when you are someone like Donald Trump, who's been exposed as a rapist, pedophile, like he is, when you are historically unpopular, when your economic agenda completely failed, what else do you have? If you want to win over the support of one of the most bigoted populations in the planet. Like, do you guys believe this shit actually works on the white suburbs? Like, this man won the white woman vote 3 times, I think. 3 times. This shit works in America. You know that the establishment been putting this into overdrive. They have their favorite feds, the Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, who always stoke these culture wars. Do you guys think that's an accident? No, it's because polls show that Americans are becoming class conscious at a historic pace. And Gen Z, you guys know between millennials and Gen Z, and even Gen X, there is a net favor. Like, socialism is a net positive in this country. I covered that before. Let me see if I can find the poll. Socialism poll. Like, even look, this is the poll I covered. I don't know this is the exact headline, but I covered this before. Look, even young Republicans are growing tired of capitalism. I think this is the article that referencing the poll. Literally, in this poll, every single generation, except the boomers, was positive in socialism. You guys realize that class war is inevitable? That this is a science? That temperatures will boil. The capitalist class will continue to reach and wage class war. The temperature will rise. The population will only take so much. That's why revolution is inevitable. It is whether we were going to go to barbarism or socialism? Are we going to go to fascism or are we going to go to socialism? Without socialism, we're going to head to fascism. Without socialism, we're going to have a technocratic fascist state led by Palantir and their cronies. The only way you actually engage and defeat the elites is engaging in class war. And that's why these desperate motherfuckers like Trump is desperate to create a race war. That's what Charlie Kirk was trying to do the moment before he got caught in the neck. Took out by his own people. He was smoked by the own people he defended as he was trying to start a race war. Everyone wanted to pretend that wasn't what he was doing the last week of his life. But what I found very heartening, and this is why I had to cover this on my channel, is that our Somalian brothers and sisters made a complete mockery of the situation, because that's the only energy that deserved to be met with this nonsense, while calling out the hypocrisy that white Americans seem to accept, because we covered many times before that white Americans are completely subservient to their Jewish masters. They're 100% okay with walking on eggshells, talking about certain topics. Remember, Donald Trump, he used to brag about the fact that the Israeli lobby used to have all this influence. He was being nostalgic about it. And now Somalians are throwing that back to him.
The state of Minnesota is the home of the Somali people, in which it fulfills its natural, cultural, religious, and historical right to self-determination.
What a glorious, you guys see what they're doing here? This is a glorious satire, because they're turning Zionist logic on their head and explaining to the people who are subservient to the Jewish supremacist ideology of Zionism, hey man, this is our promised land. And MAGA is being trolled to extreme levels. Like, here's another one. Like, these memes are all over the place here.
Yo, Minnesota was promised to us Somalis 3,000 years ago. And if you disagree, you're an anti-Cushite bigot and you need help immediately. Also, if you read Genesis 12:3, it says that those who bless Somalis will be blessed, and those who try to harm them will bring harm upon themselves. I didn't say that. Genesis 12:3. Just saying.
I don't know about you guys, but I support a two-state solution. Like, how about we get Somalis one half, and we give the Americans another half, a very small percent. Like, we give them an opportunity to govern themselves. This is our proposal. I think this is fair. Well, you guys, you really want a one-state solution? How dare you be so unreasonable? What are you, anti-Somalic? What, you anti-black? Because you try to say that Somalians don't deserve to exist? What are we saying here? Look how nice the Somali people are being. Look, these are God-chosen people. You don't know? The God-chosen people are willing to give you a state, my friends, and you're complaining? They're completely unbothered. And if you look at the response from MAGA accounts, let's see if I hope I can find it. Look, this has to be one of the most ridiculous takes I ever heard. It's literally just flat out lies. Like, the same MAGA people who pretend that they're on top of the IQ chart don't even realize that they're being trolled right now. There are MAGA accounts that are so low IQ, that are so dumb, they don't even see the satire that the Somalis are engaging in. He took this man's argument like, don't you know that this is historically untrue? You don't see what they're doing, you idiot. He said that Minnesota was promised to the Somalians 3,000 years ago, that the book of Genesis says you must honor Somalians. The person he is literally trying to attack other people's IQ, as he is so low IQ, he can't even spot satire. Isn't that hilarious? Doesn't that show the irony of these people? The low IQ people who use these made up fucking stats. Like, if you believe that, and the whole IQ thing has been debunked a long time ago, by the way. If you think that there's just one scientific way that you can measure intelligence, you are fucking unironically low IQ if you believe that. Like, intelligence comes in so many different shapes and so many ways. There are people who can be athletically gifted. There can be people who are gifted in math, gifted in computers, but they're fucking virgins. Like, there are these lonely incel virgin motherfuckers who are great at science and math, but they suck at social science. They suck at the science at getting women. Like, is that a form of intelligence? If you think about it, like, there's math, science, there's your critical thinking skills, there's street smarts, there's your survival skills, and then there's the social intelligence that you need in order to, like, pick up women, for example. So let's say you're one of these quote unquote high IQ people, but struggle to get a partner. You are not intelligent enough to formulate the words needed to find a mate. How does that make you more superior than the people you call low IQ? You guys see how, like, I would use IQ as a meme. I would use it as a slang. I was like, man, you low IQ. I'm not above saying that, but I use it as slang. If you believe that IQ, you believe in one universal way to gauge intelligence that was formulated by Western-minded chuds, you are unironically low IQ. That's the funny part about it. So he didn't even get the joke there. There's more. You guys see how the Zionists are melting down over this? I have no idea what the Somalian Twitter is trying to achieve with this. You guys see how the Somalians, after Donald Trump's unhinged racial attack, was completely unbothered? This is amazing, because instead of melting down like some shit live, because Democrats, they was immediately melting down over there. Like, oh my God, this is another example of Donald Trump being racist. Using lines of attack that have been proven not to work against them. Like, it's been proven that acting like a fucking snowflake doesn't work against Donald Trump, but MAGA was not ready for these Somalian shit posters. And you guys see MAGA accounts are melting down over this. What are they trying to achieve by this? Well, they're just proving that they're smarter, funnier, and more politically incisive than 100% of the haters and losers. And this is true. Everyone who's actually met Somalis before already knew this. And that's how you knew that white supremacists were full of shit, because if you meet any Somalis and these are the people that white supremacists call low IQ. Meanwhile, they can't even comprehend their sarcasm. And guys, MAGA is getting cooked all over the place.
Brothers, behold it. The white land of the north. Snow everywhere. But look, the skyline, just like on the old drawings. 3 centuries our elders taught. Behold, this is Mini Somalia. 3 centuries past, it was promised to us. On these horses through the snow, we have found our land at last. It belongs to us now.
I'm so happy for them. I'm telling you guys right now, I'm an ally. I'm an ally of the Somalian people. I support their claims to Minnesota. I stand with them against their barbaric white, their white American terrorists who are trying to violently displace them. This is a level of trolling that white America not even fucking ready for. Look at this. Bam. This is how you respond to MAGA culture war nonsense. You don't respond like a fucking snowflake liberal who lost to Trump for what, 10 years now? Getting their ass whooped by MAGA? How is that possible? Just another reason why liberalism leads to fascism, because they failed the working class. and the working class choose reactionary politics over their neoliberal garbage. But guys, I'm just scratching the surface. Somali Twitter is fucking lit right now. And Somalis don't steal it. Who else gonna steal it, man? Who else gonna do it? Yeah, you gotta know I had to drop some bangers. I stand with the Somalis and their rightful claim. What? Then here you go. Then their rightful claim in Minnesota. That's what I'm showing. I knew a few of you guys probably seen it, but I had to show the people who watch the show who tend to be less online than I am. This is great. I haven't seen it now. Yeah, they handled this perfectly. A lot of you guys are laughing. A lot of you guys seem kind of anti-Semitic to me. Y'all, this is serious stuff to me. This is real to me, fam. I need to read some of y'all chat. Y'all cracking me up. I think this is a good stream to kind of chill down and relax. This is a Friday. I've been in the lab cooking all week, man. All these hard-hitting, depressing topics. I actually want to show you guys some more reactions inside this tweet. Because this is his glory. This is my homie. I, for one, welcome our Somali overlords. Thank you. You freed us from Israel. Oh, I wouldn't say free. I'm more like under new management. Come on, man. No. I want to go back to this thread. This thread is amazing. I want to see more. I want to see what I missed. They on fire, bro. Don't worry, I'll get back on track here soon. Americans just hate Somalis for being chosen. Yeah, I support sending billions of taxpayer dollars. They need an Iron Dome. They need something to defend. They deserve the right to defend themselves. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are enjoying it like I am. We had a lot of hard-hitting coverage this week. God forbid I have fun on this show every once in a while, right? Yeah, if you don't support, actually, I need to read this one. If you don't support Somalia, you are a self-hating Somalian. I'm glad you guys are enjoying this too. Big shout out to the super chats here. Here's another one. Big shout out to Super Seamster Song Show. I think it's on a drink, man. The Zionists are too scared to platform renege. They're not even subtle about it. I'm gonna find. Let's read some comments real quick. They tried to platform me on the Hill with Robbie Suave. They wanted him to debate. Remember he tried to debate communism in Venezuela against me, and I destroyed this boy so bad. They're like, we never invite this man on ever again. Then they sent Destiny after me. They're like, all right, let's have Destiny debate him. Then I destroyed Destiny. We were debating Russia, Ukraine, and fascism. And Destiny, remember, Destiny was like, all right, yeah, that was a good conversation. I'll invite you back on. That boy never mentioned my name ever again after that. The good old days when they thought they could take it. When they all tried to embarrass you at first. They love to have leftist punching bags. They tried, fam. They definitely tried with me. Remember they tried to send in Ro Khanna to calm me down and dismantle me. That didn't work. He got dismantled. So they learned the best thing to do is just to ignore me. And it is smart. It is a very effective tactic. It slows my momentum down a lot. That's why I give a shout out to Jimmy Dore, who actually still wanted to platform my crazy ass. Anyone who still wanted to platform my crazy ass. Jamal Thompson, he had me on not too long ago. Big shout out to all of them people, you know what I mean? Because mainstream media, they did it. Like you guys say, they troll. They literally trending right now. Yeah, if you're new, yeah, Marianne Wilson, she got cooked too. If you're new to the chat, you missed a lot of gold. The old school RBN viewers, you guys seen all the people who tried to challenge me. Now they learn. Like I've been asking for debates. I be calling these people out. They don't want the heat, man. They really don't. It's crazy. I expected way more people to call me out, bro, but they don't. They legitimately like, man, we just gonna ignore this guy. Yeah, this is why I said MAGA stood no chance against the Somali shit posters. I actually want to look at the trending tab. Well, this is more like of a chill stream. Hope you guys enjoying this. MAGA stood no chance. Look, damn, this tweet doing numbers, fam. Damn. This motherfucker's like 19,000 likes already. Damn. Bro, we doing numbers out here, fam. What's popping, man? I like to read the chat, but I be missing it sometimes. It goes too fast. Yeah, Jamal's the homie. I'm trying to get on Jamal's level. Let's see if we can find any more funny, because they have a whole trending tab from this. This is great. Like a group of Somali, like everyone blowing this skit up. That's a genius skit. Like, here's the two-state solution. I support it. I condemn any terrorist who tried to wipe out the Somali state. You try to say Somali don't deserve to exist? Oh, we cooking, bro. MAGA is not ready for this. Like, MAGA is used to going against these fucking shit libs. The American Goyms have rejected. Oh my god. Is this white boy cooking? Hold up. Let's see what this dude's talking about. American Goyms have rejected a two-state solution for the state of Minnesota. Minnesota is the ancestral homeland of the Somali people, whose forefathers wandered the Sonoran Desert for 40 years. Damn, bro. They literally made a whole war out of this. Hold up. You have people who like this meme so much, they are making a whole entire legitimate lore, and I'm all for this.
A lot of Somalis have been returning to their rightful homeland in Minnesota. And I've seen a lot of people propose like a two-state solution where, the Somalis, they get some parts, and then the Americans, they can keep some other parts. But honestly, it's just a bunch of bullshit. I mean, it's written in the Quran, the Talmud, the Bible, that the Somalis' rightful homeland is Minnesota. I mean, literally, Genesis 12:3, it reads, Somalis should be in Minnesota. Like, why should the Americans never should have even settled there in the first place. I mean, they read the Bible. They knew that it was the Somali homeland. I mean, I don't know what was wrong with those fucking guys. Like, there needs to be one state in Minnesota, and it is a Somali state. It is a Somali state, firmly Somali state. And anyone who says anything else is an anti-Somalite. All right?
Bro, I hope this doesn't die. Because this leaves liberals in a very weird position. And this is why the corporate media is never going to cover the trend. Because how do they explain this? Like, if you're a Zionist outlet, how do you explain what the Somalis are mocking and what they're making satire out of? As a North Dakotan, look, we have people in North Dakota. We have North Dakota comrades standing in solidarity with them. Yeah, we need the UN to officially confirm this. This is great. All right, I think we got a lot out of this. All right, let's see what we're gonna get covered next. I'm gonna keep this around an hour. I guess I'll read some chats real quick. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna cover how Donald Trump is taking a lot of heat from his gambit to wage war against Venezuela. Yeah, I'm gonna do like another maybe 20-15 minutes or so. We here on a Friday. I want to get at least one semi-serious story in here. Like, the Venezuelan war is hurting Trump really badly. I think that's another reason why he's deflecting. But before I get to that, I guess I'll read some chats. We have Ollie Vargas who's going to join us as well. So we have a perfect guest to join us for this as well. But before I get to our next segment with Ollie Vargas, he's a great geopolitical analyst who covers South American politics. We're gonna get him next. We had a lot of fun in the beginning. We're gonna get to some serious geopolitics now. We're gonna get to the Venezuelan conflict. So let's do that. Actually, let me start with this article here. If I can get this to load correctly. Because this war is so unpopular. I'm going to start with this and I'll bring Ollie Vargas in. Like, we're blessed to have a great reporter who's been following this for a while.
Small business owners are using Amazon to pick up, store, and deliver.
All these people who are now calling out Trump for this is not because they stand against imperialism on principle, but they see the polls back home. Like, the vast majority of the American people are condemning Trump for this. This is tearing Donald Trump's base apart. And the polls show that this is going to be the one thing that destroyed Donald Trump's presidency faster than anything else, probably more than Epstein. You want to know who is in support of bombing their own people? The Gusanos, like Maria Corina Machado. Look at this headline. As Americans say no to this war, this Miami suburb clamors for Maduro's ouster. So it's always these, and I piss a lot of people off on. I love pissing the Gusano traders off on X when I was explaining how all these English speakers, like Maria Machado, send all these English messages out, even though Venezuela speak mostly Spanish and Portuguese. Like, there's not a lot of fluent speakers of English in Venezuela, but she keeps sending these messages to America saying that we support you bombing our country. Complete, utter nonsense. But to break this down a little bit more with me and the geopolitical implications, we have a great geopolitical analyst who covers South American politics. Join us for the first time. I appreciate being in the conversation, having you on to explain what's going on in South America right now. Thank you for joining me, Ollie Vargas.
No, thank you for having me on.
Yeah. First, I want to get your thoughts about how the Venezuelan people are coming together in this moment. Like, I've seen Nicolas Maduro is arming the Venezuelan people. A lot of them are pledging to defend their state. And there's even South American leaders who was critical of Maduro, who was to my right on this issue, like people like Gustavo Petro, who is now staunchly defending Maduro. So I want to get your thoughts, because you've been covering this issue very closely. I want to get your thoughts on how Venezuela responding to Trump's aggression and how following neighboring states have been responding to this as well. Ollie, what are your thoughts on this current situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Venezuelans have been under the threat of attack by the United States for a very long time. In fact, I'd say probably the first real serious action that was being taken against Venezuela was back in 2019 during Trump's first presidency, with a lot of the same people we're seeing today. And that was when the US recognized that self-declared President Juan Guaido, and they stopped buying Venezuelan oil and turned the sanctions that Obama had introduced and turned them into a full-on blockade against the country. And that was incredibly serious time. But Venezuela survived that, and I think we're seeing the whole threats now, the military build-up, threats of invasion, etc., is coming because Venezuela has defeated every other attempt of the US. The attempt at economic sanctions and to destroy Venezuela economically as a means of sort of triggering Venezuelans to overthrow the government, that has failed. In fact, Venezuela has been, at least for the past 2-3 years, has been on a road of massive economic recovery. You know, the UN Economic Commission for Latin America actually projected a growth of about 6% for Venezuela by the end of this year, which would have placed Venezuela as the fastest growing economy in South America. Of course, because they're starting from a very low base, but they are beginning a process of rebuilding, of bringing down inflation. The hyperinflation we saw in 2019, 2020 has pretty much disappeared now. And Venezuelans were just trying to get on and rebuild the country, rebuild their lives. So the attempt via economic sanctions has failed. The attempts by throwing millions and, in fact, over $1 billion at attempting to fund right-wing opposition groups within Venezuela, that has also failed in that they haven't been able to seize power. the protests that have been, there's been lots of protests against the government, but since 2019 to today, but none of them large enough to present to actually overthrow the government and take power. So that was that failed. They've also, the United States has spent huge amounts attempting to bribe factions within the military, within the government, to try and turn on Maduro and to try and essentially lead a military coup. That has all failed. No one within the military has switched sides, has defected. In fact, there was even a story not long ago, I remember a few months ago, from AP about the US attempted to bribe to the tune of millions Maduro's pilot while he was refueling somewhere outside of Venezuela, and he refused as well. So all of these strategies that the US has tried to use have failed. So now they're setting up another one. And within Venezuela, among ordinary Venezuelan people, there's actually a pretty remarkable level of calm. If you go there today, there's people will be out at the markets, out at music concerts and sports events. But within the Venezuelan government, of course, they're taking it very seriously. But with a level of calmness, I think that's quite important. The strategy within Venezuela is very clear: is to prepare militarily. Of course, people will say, "Well, Venezuela's they have a much smaller military than the United States." But in reality, if we look back at all of the United States' recent conflicts, when was the last time they faced a country that actually has a modern air force, which Venezuela has? So we've got to take all of this into account, and Venezuela has been preparing that, but also organizing among the people. They've been creating what they call community command bases in every single street of the country. That's the plan. That'll be something that can be mobilized in if the situation requires it. And so a dual strategy of traditional military defense along with guerrilla warfare to beat back any invading forces.
Yeah, very well said. And I cannot emphasize enough, I need Americans to understand that the reason why Donald Trump and the regime is so desperate right now is because every plan they had up until now failed. Sanctions failed because the goal of sanctions, as stated by the State Department, is to turn the population against the leader. And I would love to get your thoughts on this. You can push back on me if you wish, but I said it for years. I think Nicolas Maduro, with all the conditions that he was facing against, because how many leaders in world history had to go up against something like sanctions against a massive empire like the United States? Like, people act like there's a handbook, like there's a written handbook on how to navigate United States sanctions. Like, no, these leaders, like the leaders in North Korea, Nicolas Maduro, all these leaders that are facing Western sanctions, they're facing a blockade of likes that many leaders have never seen before. And what Nicolas Maduro has done, especially since around 2014, 2015, I think he has masterfully navigated Western aggression. He never made a move that was too rash that could justify United States aggression. He always done a great job walking this middle line of playing politics, winning over allies in the region. And this is what stuff like the Zoran Mamdani left, they missed. They say he's just a tyrant. Maduro's a tyrant. Bernie says it. Mamdani says it. No, what he has done as a statesman has been incredible. And now Maduro, he led Donald Trump into a trap. Even corporate media in the West is writing about this. I want you to react and share any other thoughts you have. But look, Maduro has called Trump's bluff. The U.S. must wage war and back down. Why you guys think Nicolas Maduro chilling now? Because Donald Trump has massive pressure in his own state. Meanwhile, he has a rallying support. Even people who are more centrist, who are more influenced by Western propaganda, who are anti-Maduro, even they are rallying behind Maduro. So he has the support of the people. He having governments who was otherwise critical of him coming in support of him. While Donald Trump, on the other hand, the UK cut intelligence sharing. He is losing allies. He is losing support in the States. Do you guys see the political chess piece, checkmate, I should say, that Nicolas Maduro put Trump in? And Maduro knows it. That's why Maduro, he's just having the time of his life. Look, this is Maduro today, or maybe the last 44 hours. Like, Maduro, he's chilling. You know,
Esto se llama lenguaje tarzaneado.
I was telling you guys Maduro's mindset. I have it playing in the background, but I want to get your thoughts on. Do you agree with my analysis? Disagree? Is there any thoughts you have, Ollie, that you want to share before I move on?
Yeah, that's definitely right. Maduro knows very well the only way the United States can carry out a regime change in Venezuela is through a formal ground invasion of the country. That's the only possibility they have to actually achieve their objectives. And and in the case of a formal ground invasion, Maduro is pretty confident that Venezuela can defend itself. Of course, there's many variables that we don't know, but it's confident that only through a ground invasion do they have any chance. And that's important because what the United States was hoping for, was expecting, was essentially regime change on the cheap. Was if they just surround Venezuela with all of these big naval boats, is what they're doing, throwing the entire US Navy to sit in the Caribbean to threaten Venezuela, that the government, the top levels of the government, of the military, will get too scared and just kind of back away without the United States actually having to fight a formal war. And that's not going to happen. Maduro is very confident, and that we've seen him be right about this, that his side is staying absolutely firm. There have been no resignations within the government, no attempts at making some sort of deal, some sort of plea deal with the United States. They've stayed absolutely solid, which I think in the context of one of the largest naval build-ups we've seen in modern times is very impressive, actually. But yes, the only way they can achieve the objectives is through ground invasion, and Maduro knows that Trump wants to avoid that. Why? Because we know that within the US government, within the State Department, within MAGA, they are hugely divided over this question. And this is a divide that goes back a long way between people like Marco Rubio, who believes that the US should be fighting 10 different wars at the same time. They should bomb Iran, they should bomb Venezuela, they should bomb China, whatever. But others, cooler heads within MAGA, within the Trump government, wants the US to take wants US imperialism to take a much more strategic view. They want them to wind up fronts of conflict like in Ukraine. They certainly don't want them to enter into new fronts of conflict in places like Venezuela, and that they should focus on, for example, China. And the economic matters in turn domestic to the United States, rather than these expensive foreign wars. And so Trump, someone that I think his instincts are, that he doesn't want to be in this, in such a conflict, because this,
I want to make sure, is Ollie still there? Do you guys hear Ollie? Is that just me? I think Ollie might have disconnected. Can you hear me, Ollie?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
On your side, it seems to cut off somewhat.
Yeah, I think you froze for a second, but I think you're back now.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
It seems to have frozen. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me.
Can you guys hear Ollie? I can hear him.
I can hear you now. Yes, I can hear you now. Okay.
Yeah, you cut out maybe like 20 seconds ago. So if you want to continue your thought.
Yeah. No, anyway, so all of the appeals that you'll see in the media from the so-called Venezuelan Americans about freedom and democracy, I think Trump doesn't care about that at all. What he wants is a kind of an easy win that he can say, they can get a medal for. And I think the smarter people within the State Department will tell him that this is not going to be an easy win. That a win, even if we do launch a ground invasion, is not guaranteed. And if there's one thing I think that Trump doesn't like more than anything is being a loser. And there's a very real prospect that he would lose a conflict if it were to come to this. But that doesn't mean I think that the threat of an invasion or attack is over. There is another faction within MAGA, which is what I call the Gusano lobby, which acts in similar ways to the Israel lobby, actually, in terms of they are the Latin American bourgeoisie who reside in the United States, who hold an enormous amount of institutional power within U.S. society more widely, but also within the MAGA movement. You know, these are people based in, you know, many of them based in Miami, who are essentially run the Miami faction of the U.S. bourgeoisie, and they have a very specific and personal interest in the United States intervening and getting involved in these conflicts, because they are the ones with the contacts to profit directly in the chaos of a regime change operation. They're the ones who would manage the privatization of the state industries, all of this kind of thing. They're the ones who manage this, and it will flow through them. The contracts that, you know, the big US oil companies are hoping to get. So they are hoping to do this to profit personally. But those outside of that faction, the non-Latino sections of MAGA who you know don't have this interest, I think are very, very skeptical of this and certainly don't want this to happen. I think, you know, Donald Trump will be wise to remember what happened to George Bush with Iraq, and the way that has like tarnished his legacy, even within the Republic, even within the American right, and how the failure of Iraq, you know, has destroyed him. So the same would happen to Trump, and I think some people are advising him that.
Yeah, and I think the Western media is starting to realize that now. I think Trump realizes that. I think Nicolas Maduro realizes that now. That's why he's having fun with this now. And that's why there's an article in Reuters as well, and there's a few other like ad block sites I saw. This is one of the few I saw that wasn't ad block, where they're like, man, I think Donald Trump is in checkmate. Like, and it's because Donald Trump would be in a horrible position, and the United States is not a fighting force filled with warriors. I explain all the time how we lost every single war in the modern era. And then the only like hope that Americans have, despite the fact that they never achieve any military objectives in any of their conflicts, is that they commit massive atrocities. Like, don't you know we killed 2 million people in Iraq? Don't you know we killed 2 million Koreans? But you guys haven't, like, your goal was to get rid of communism on the Korean Peninsula. You failed. You guys failed in Vietnam. You waged a war on terror, replaced the Taliban with the Taliban in Afghanistan. Like, you have failed to accomplish your military objectives over and over and over again. And Americans always get a high at first. They're like, yeah, rah, let's go to war. And then they see the body bags come back home because we're a very casualty-averse culture. And then the second that these military families see any American come back home in a body bag, if there's a ground invasion of Venezuela, you would see Donald Trump become the most unpopular president in modern history in record time. And Donald Trump knows this, and Nicolas Maduro knows this, and I believe the Venezuelan people knows this. This is why they're standing with them. You highlighted this on your account. The military has integrated militias in working class communities into the nation's territorial defense system. And that brings up a viral tweet I had when I said if Nicolas Maduro was so unpopular among his people, why would he arm them? Just give him, like, wouldn't they overthrow Maduro if he was this tyrant? Apparently not. The last thing I want to share, and I want to get your final thoughts on Venezuela. And before we wrap, I want to ask you just a quick question on the Honduras election, and we'll wrap up on that because I definitely want to pick your brain on that. But I saw this earlier. I want you to comment on this because I see the world rallying behind Maduro in this moment right now. And while the United States have allies running away in this conflict, you have Brazil, who usually, like Lula, try to be supportive of the United States. Sometimes that's the reality of being a Brazilian leader in the same hemisphere of the United States. They try to play ball sometimes. Not on this. Lula like hell nah. Claudia Sheinbaum, Mexico is another example. Like a lot of radicals criticize the Mexican president, but guys, the reality of the situation is if you share a border with the United States, there's only so much a Mexican president can do when it comes to standing against imperialism generally. But even Sheinbaum is like, nah, we don't stand with this. So the United States is losing close allies while Maduro is rallying the troops. Because I covered this article before. I did a hotspot video on this maybe a week ago, where you have Russia officials explain that they send anti-air defense missiles to Venezuela. So you have the resistance that is arming Venezuela right now. And then in the light of that, you had Venezuela show this. Hopefully you two don't get mad at me for showing this video. I know they got weird rules on military stuff. Yeah, I actually gotta be careful, but pretty much they had this video where they were sharing off. Yeah, actually, last second on the side, I don't think I can show. Actually, I don't think I can show this actually. But pretty much they're armed to the teeth because Russia is coming to their back, China's coming to their back, and the United States is in this tough position. So, Ollie, any final thoughts on Venezuela and what you think the outcome will be? And then I'll quickly ask you about Honduras next, and then we wrap up after this. Any final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
Well, in terms of what's going to happen, we don't know because it's fundamentally an internal faction fight within the government over what happens. It depends which faction can sway Trump. Trump, as we know, is basically an idiot, and he sides with whoever kind of takes his fancy. But he's being pulled in two different directions right now. So we'll have to see which side manages to convince him. We'll see if Trump perhaps goes for the option of just firing a missile at some random outpost on the coast and then being like, "We did it, guys! We've destroyed the cartels." We'll see. I think that could be a possibility, but it all depends about the internal faction fight within MAGA and it being made very clear to Donald Trump that he would lose this conflict if he was foolish enough to launch it, and it would cost him massively politically, in the same way that Iraq has destroyed the legacy of George Bush, even within the United States and within the American right. So I think that's important, and I think Venezuela, as it has done all these years, will remain absolutely solid.
Yeah, make sure you guys follow Ollie Vargas because he breaks down a lot of news coming out of South America. And you guys know we tend to highlight anti-imperialist citizen journalism, so make sure you guys follow his work. Something else I want to pick your brain on because I seen you comment on this, and I've been following the Honduras election very loosely, very in a relaxed way, and I've seen Donald Trump. He played a very active role in trying to meddle in this election. He did the same thing multiple times already, where he threatens the populace with increased tariffs, with other U.S. economic retaliation if they don't vote for right-wing parties. And the early exit polls showed that the left-wing candidate, left progressive candidate, was actually ahead before Donald Trump started putting this massive pressure on. Well, I should say despite him putting this massive pressure on. And then the vote tally all of a sudden gets delayed. And now like the right-wing candidate is now starting to slowly get in the lead. I'm like very confused about what's going on. I'll read this headline. I want you to kind of break it down for us. Because now like the candidates in the race are calling foul on Donald Trump in the United States, who are playing a very close role in like the vote count and the delaying of the election results. It seems like the United States, and it seems to me, once again, I've been following this very loosely. That's why I want to ask you about this. It seems to me like the United States is meddling in another election. Ali, can you explain what's going on here? What political factions are competing in this election, and why the United States is so invested in it?
Yeah, I mean, on a more general way, United States at the moment has a policy of really rebuilding the Monroe Doctrine, of turning the Latin America into their zone, into dominating completely and overruling, destroying sovereignty entirely within the Americas, the American continent. And so they're getting involved in, almost every election. We saw them get directly involved in midterm elections in Argentina in an enormous and unprecedented way, actually, for Argentina. We've seen them get involved in this election. Part of their involvement in this election was to actually free the former president of Honduras, the right-wing president, whose party Trump is now trying to install into office, the National Party, the Partido Nacional. Trump pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez, this ex-president, who was convicted by U.S. courts of trafficking 400 tons of cocaine into the United States. And so when Trump, the United States pulls out all these false arguments about Venezuela, we know that the alliance of the United States is actually with drug traffickers and with narco factions within Latin America, insofar as they're useful against the left, as they are in this case in Honduras. And Honduras, was always the point of transport. Honduras and Guatemala, the transport of Ecuadorian and Colombian cocaine through into the United States. The point of transport was always Honduras and Guatemala, which were historically two, puppet governments of the United States until recently, when Honduras elected a left-wing government. So that's what Trump is trying to overturn. And now we're seeing the elections are an absolute mess. The elections were held on Sunday of last week, and we still have no results. Now it's now, about to be Saturday, and we don't have a winner. Even within the electoral authorities of Honduras, now the information is emerging about how there's a discrepancy between the physical vote tallies and the digital vote tallies. This is something coming from authorities that are part of the Electoral Council of Honduras. So this is not resolved in any way. We'll see what happens. I think the point where this will have to blow up is coming very soon. But we're trying to sort of wait and see what exactly the information coming out is. But it seems like this has been rigged. That this is quite a classical case of electoral fraud, in which the physical markings that people make on the bit of paper are not actually translating into the digital vote tally. That's what's happening now in Honduras.
Yeah, I appreciate you explaining that, and I appreciate your expertise in breaking down geopolitics in South America. Any last thoughts? Can you share where they can find you? Thank you for joining us once again on RBN. Anything you've been working on? Any final shout outs before we wrap up tonight, Ollie?
No, thank you for having me on. And I think it's going to be the issue of Latin America is going to be more and more important within the US. As I said, the US, I think, is realizing its defeat in the face of China. And I think as the US empire declines, they're going to try to really drill into Latin America to try and shore up and consolidate their power in the Americas as they kind of face defeat elsewhere in the world. So I think this issue is going to be more and more important. And you guys can follow me on Twitter. You can, as you can see down on the screen. And I hope we can have more discussions going forward.
Yeah, I definitely have to pick your brain about China one day. There's so much I wanted to cover. We have limited time today, but we would definitely love to have you back on for some more geopolitical updates. So thank you for joining us, Ollie Vargas. I'm gonna keep this around an hour tonight. I actually have some previous engagements I want to get to tonight. We have a lot of content for you guys this week. You guys know I'm always in the lab cooking. Hope you guys enjoyed this Friday show. We had a little bit of lighthearted fun in the beginning, and then got to some more serious geopolitics at the end. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you support my work on Patreon, like and share. I appreciate you, comrades. Have a great week.